big topic of the day was AIDS. And if there was ever a topic that generated a lot of misinformation and myth, that had to have been it. And the amount of misunderstanding of what was a serious public health crisis was just incredible. And that was probably the main topic you covered in those days. What did you learn from covering that about kind of the way in which public misunderstands science?
Yeah. I mean, super interesting in retrospect. And I talk a little bit actually in one of the episodes upcoming in my podcast. I go back to those years. There are several really interesting things, but in retrospect, the most important thing was that at the time, in the first 10 years of the epidemic, so early 80s to early 90s, the institutions that took the brunt of the criticism were the major medical research and pharma. They were the bad guys. They didn't understand this. They were taken by surprise. They were killing us. They were coming up with... In retrospect, they were the heroes. Not just the heroes. More than that. In retrospect, what they did is stunning. They took a class of viruses, retroviruses, which we knew almost nothing about in the early 1980s. And in the space of a decade, they essentially learned how to not cure, but treat as well as we could treat any kind of chronic illness in a decade. That is unheard of. I mean, it's just, in retrospect, it is stunning how well served we were by those institutions. The combination of NIH, academic medicine, and big pharma performed one of the most extraordinary innovative acts of the 20th century, for which they got and have gotten zero credit. It says something, I think, really not very flattering about the way the public perceives and the way the media and the public dealt with that disease. I think it became very
political, and so the debate played out more about the politics of AIDS rather than about the science.
But also, there was so little understanding of how scientific innovation works. And in retrospect, at the time, there was an incredible amount of time and energy spent about arguing for access to a drug called AZT. I mean, I cannot tell you how many kind of months and years of political and social energy went into the fight for access to AZT. AZT was worse than useless. The whole thing was a waste of time. What we should have been doing is going to everyone who was doing AIDS research and making their life easier. And instead, what we did is we screamed at them. And then when they succeeded, gave them no credit.